If you've ever been bothered by the shrinking margins on your Amazon reselling business, where you're buying products from stores and selling them on Amazon, then this interview is going to be something today that is enlightening for you and your business. Because I'm going to talk with Zach Altmyer, who's been selling on Amazon and eBay for 7 years at the point of this recording anyway. And he sells products with over 100% return on investment because he's able to find products that are no longer being manufactured and that will be discontinued at some point in the future. Now, you can either do that through quick flips where you buy them and you sell it right away, or you can do it through buying and holding the inventory so that you can make more money in the future. But this method is great for those of you that are looking for some additional profits to add into your Amazon business, or if you're someone looking to start kind of a side hustle that takes a little bit of time, but once you get the hang of everything, you're able to start finding these discontinued products and selling them for high profits, going from $10 of inventory cost to potentially $20 or $30 in profit. These types of finds are possible with this method. Now, Zach does sell a course detailing all of this information. You can access that at askjimmysmith.com/discontinued. That will be below and in the description for you. But without further ado, let's get into this interview with Zach Altmyer. Hey, Zach, thank you so much for joining me today on the YouTube channel. Really excited to have you here, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great getting to bring you on the channel because I got to meet you actually in person at the Proven Conference just about a month ago from the time of us recording this. So it's great to see you in person and to be able to get to know you a little bit better. But for those that are watching right now that don't know you or kind of your story, would you mind giving us a little bit of a background of how you've been selling on online and kind of what that looks like for you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know me, I'm Zach Altmyer. I have been selling part-time for almost 7 years now, which is crazy to me. I have been started out on eBay for most of the time and then moved over to Amazon and just starting on Walmart. I started selling like most people, finding just things around the house, just trying to get things moving on eBay, just kind of experimenting to see if I liked it. Moved over to clearance items, found a couple things there, and then I stumbled upon discontinued items, which is something that I have been doing for all 7 years now. And it has been one of my favorite categories to sell. And just it's a lot of fun when you start selling those type of products.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was really intrigued by is what you do with the discontinued products because I know that you've done this for so long. It's something that I've heard about doing, and I've probably accidentally sold some things that ended up being discontinued. But I'm curious kind of what your thought process looks like behind how you find some of these discontinued deals. Like, what is it that got you into it? Because a lot of times I hear it from the standpoint of like Legos, right? Somebody will buy a Lego set and they'll hold it until it becomes discontinued. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about other things besides that?
Yeah. So when it comes to discontinued products, I see it in two different ways. There's the first way is how I stumbled upon it, and that's kind of going almost back in time in a way. So I love to source at local hardware stores, local pharmacies and grocery stores, things where people, I guess, aren't shopping as much, and this is where you can find some of those old discontinued items. So these items aren't going to be at like your Walmarts and Targets because they turn over inventory so fast. There's these local stores that stuff will just sit on the shelves for a very long, extended period of time. And there are items that people still want. They still want to buy them. And if you're able to go out and find these items, people are willing to pay a lot more to keep using them. So, for example, this past weekend, I went out to a local grocery store. I found some discontinued detergent, and it's been discontinued for over a year now, but this local grocery store still had it in stock. Again, not a lot of people are kind of looking for these type of items. There was a nice layer of dust on it, and it was sitting there for $10, and it's listed on Amazon for over $60 right now. So there's these different type of products that people still want. You can find these at these older type of stores. But then after a while, I started to realize like I don't want to keep chasing these products because you're walking in the store and you don't know if they're going to have the certain products, right? So my thought was like, how do I get ahead of this? And you mentioned Lego and talking to Greg Webb, who is a very good friend of mine as well. We kind of discussed like the buying hold method and how do you get ahead of it? How can you find that some of this stuff is discontinued early So you can do the buy and hold. You can hit up some of the stores. You can do a little bit of RA. You can do a little bit of OA, buy the product, and then once it sells out, once it's discontinued, you can go ahead and sell that product for a higher profit as well. So those are the two kind of methods I go about when it comes to discontinued.
Wow, that's awesome. So whenever you're talking about, a $10, you said laundry detergent, $10 laundry detergent to
Yes.
$60 on Amazon, somebody's paying $60 for laundry detergent. That's amazing. What kind of return on investment then are you typically looking for? Are you almost always going to be seeing the 100+% return on investment, or are you sometimes looking for lower or more? What is the process for you?
Yeah, I think it depends on where that product is in its discontinued cycle and kind of where you're sourcing it, right? So if it's been discontinued for a while, it's usually anything over 100%, which is crazy to say, but it's true.
Okay.
You find a lot of these products that have just been there for a while, and it's almost easy, an over 100 ROI. But if it's something that has been recently discontinued, it's probably going to take some time. Now, that's something where I have no problem holding it because because I know it's been discontinued. I like to go out and get those confirmations, right? And that kind of gives me, as a seller, an advantage, knowing that I don't have to go out and rush and sell this product because another key point when it comes to discontinued products is what happens when something's discontinued. It goes to clearance. It goes to clearance at a lot of these major retailers. It could be bargain outlets, things like that. Um, and when it does, a lot of other people are hopping on that listing, they're selling it, and when you see the seller count goes up, the price comes down. And that's something where if you just have the knowledge that a product is discontinued and you can kind of wait out that tank, if you want to call it, that's where you can have a strategic advantage and kind of have a better ROI later on as you're holding that product. So again, it kind of depends on where I am in that discontinued cycle when I'm buying it, but if you're buying in stores, it's been gone for a while, you're likely going to see something that's close to 100% ROI. If it's something that's new, it might be 20, where you can, yeah, it could be a nice quick flip, but really it's up to you if you want to get that quick flip, get the cash flow back, or if you have the capital to buy and hold, that's something you can use to your advantage.
Yeah, and that's kind of an age-old debate, I guess, so to speak, in
Hmm.
Amazon circles, anyways. Do you do the buy and hold, or do you do the quick flips? And I usually tend towards the side of doing the quick flips just to get my cash moving. However, there are so many people that do buy and hold the right way, and they kind of look at it more of as almost an investment, as into something that in the future is going to make them much more money. So I'm curious, kind of where you fall on that, I guess, debate of do you typically try to buy and hold, or are you doing more quick flips, or is it just kind of dependent on the product and your season of life?
Yes, it's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So, number one, I would say yes, season of life, right? I've been doing this part-time, and the buy and hold helps me out a ton just because I can go ahead and buy something in bulk and I can just set it in my storage unit and let it sit. I don't have to kind of worry about keeping things moving. I have that over there kind of maturing because again, I know it's discontinued and I know it's going to be worth a lot more and kind of save me a lot more time now. But if it's, I'm out at a hardware store, I find one unit and it's discontinued and I can, maybe it's 50 ROI, whatever that may be. For me, it's probably not worth holding that one unit. I don't know how much more I'm going to get out of it. That's something that I'm going to quick flip. Um, if there's something where Amazon comes back in stock, like it's an OA flip where I can, it comes right in, I can send it right back out. That's probably something I'm also going to quick flip. But when it comes to buy and hold, if it's something that I can buy in bulk, I am more inclined to buy and hold just because I know I have all of that product.
Mm.
And that's something where I don't mind putting that in the storage and kind of waiting that one out. But if it's more single units, different items, things like that, if it's something that I know it can sell, very quickly too, I'm all about the quick flip. So I love doing both. It helps because I also don't want to, get myself in a cash flow crunch. You know, I don't want to buy and hold. You can't buy and hold everything.
Mhm.
There's things you want to keep moving, and it also helps open up other opportunities, right? If it's something where I have something that I'm holding that I want to hold, but maybe a better opportunity arises. I still have that opportunity where I can sell that discontinued on. Maybe it's not 100% all right, but maybe it's down to 40. You're still able to get some cash flow back. You're able to make some profit, but I can use that money to go ahead and invest in that other product that I think might be a better winner.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, the way that it sounds like to me anyway, a lot of times in Amazon circles, and I may be responsible for some of this, where people feel the need to grow their business to 20, 50, $100,000 a month to make, 10% profit margins, right? That's just like
Mhm.
the typical growing your business desire for a lot of people is they want to grow it as big as possible. But when you do that, your profit margins shrink because you've got more expenses and all these other factors. But this to me
Mhm.
sounds like kind of a lower stress type of an opportunity. If you're somebody willing to be able to do this part time, you could go out there, find the right products, you could flip them, put out $2,000 to $5,000 and make $2,000 to $5,000 on those items. Am I like reading that right from your perspective also?
That's exactly what I'm doing. I
Okay.
like to describe it as I almost like I like to work in waves, right? I will like with my job, I have a lot of responsibilities. That's my number one. But when I have free time, I love to go out and source different products. And in my life, I'm doing a bunch of different things. I have hobbies I love to do. I love to travel, and obviously that's going to take away from me sourcing. But when I have those opportunities, I love to go out, spend an entire weekend. There's certain products I want to go out and buy. I will spend that entire time scooping up all that product, using that, and then just setting it aside and not necessarily forgetting about it, but hey, I know I got that product and I know in a few months I can sell that at a profit rather than trying to hurry up, prep it, trying to get all these different quick flips, getting the money back, and then going right back out, trying to source products and keeping that going where for me personally, I know that's going to burn me out.
Mhm.
So I love to go out, use that time, go all in when I can, buy as much product as I can that I know is discontinued, set it aside, and then in a few months decide if I want to sell it or if the seller count and the amount of product is dropping pretty fast, then I know I can hold it maybe just a little bit longer for a little bit more of an ROI. So I kind of use that to as an advantage just for my life because it makes it a lot less stressful. Um, and when I go out and do, when it's ready and I'm able to go ahead and sell a product, that opens up a whole lot of cash flow so I can budget a little bit more for another trip. But then I got a little more cash that I can go out for the next round and go ahead and buy some products. So yeah, it has helped me out a ton and it brings me a peace of mind almost where like again just knowing that a product is no longer being made is something where I can just kind of be like all right, I got it, I can let it sit and I don't have to worry about selling that right away.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And is it a situation with those types of products where you're holding on to it for a while, or somebody's paying $60 for laundry detergent? In those situations, do you see more IP complaints or any kind of counterfeit complaints because of it? Or are you seeing less because people are just, waiting for that one product? They find somebody that finally is selling it, and so they're just happy to get it.
Yeah, knock on wood, the IP complaints to customer, like I haven't seen much of that at all. And I think when it's at such a price, I think people realize that like, they understand they can't find it anymore. It's one of those things where if it's something that you love and it comes in, because that's what people are buying, right? It's people that are familiar with this product. Those are the people who are willing to spend more to buy that, that item instead of just someone who's just like, oh yeah, that's a detergent. I'm just gonna buy it. Boom, done, whatever. These are items that, work for that person. And when it comes in, they recognize that product. Like they know that's what they want. So I think that's why I don't see a lot of complaints. And then on the other hand, honestly, on eBay, I have actually gotten a lot of positive reviews from people where they have told me, hey, I haven't been able to find this. Thank you so much for having it and allowing me to buy it. I had a facial toner that a lady had bought. I found these 7, $8 at a grocery store, and I sold them for 25, $30 a piece. She ended up buying them all, and I got a letter in the mail, and I was like, what is this? And I realized it was from the customer, and I was like, I started sweating because really, you never get it's never a happy, letter, right? It's always a complaint, but I had opened it up and she wrote me a very big thank you just because that was her favorite product and the new product that came out just wasn't working as right for her because they changed the ingredients. And she was ecstatic that I had them and she just wrote me a big, very big thank you. So again, I think it comes down to the people who are buying it or the people who love those type of products, and when they come in, they know that's the product that they want.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned, selling this on eBay. Do you typically see that you're selling more products on eBay or on Amazon whenever you do this type of model?
Again, I think it's a little bit of both. And the strategies I kind of go about that are if it's a product that's one in perfect condition and it meets all of the requirements and it's sellable on Amazon and I have the proper documentation for Amazon, then I sell it on Amazon. Um, really, I want to make sure that it's the perfect item for that, just because Amazon is, as we know, way stricter than eBay. So I want to make sure I have all of that in line for that type of platform. But if it's something where I buy from a local hardware store. So, for example, if you buy from a local hardware store or any local store, sometimes you don't get a receipt that's itemized. They just print you this little thing and that's your total cost. I don't have the documentation for that, so that's something that's immediately going to go to eBay. Um, Things where it's been discontinued, like there's a household item that's got like a little bit of a dent in it. And for eBay sellers, like for eBay buyers, I should say, like they're really not going to care. If you can say, hey, there's a little bit of a dent, knock a little bit of a cost off, they're going to, heck yeah, I'm going to buy it because I really don't care about that. Um, and then also for if it's just a single item and I can't sell it, then it's probably just going to go to eBay and it's going to sell. But if it's something that I can buy in bulk and I have a lot of, that's going to go to Amazon just because I can be FBA that and it makes my life a lot easier. So that's kind of how I go, make that decision between the platforms. But just for selling items, Amazon is king. As always, I think people trust Amazon a lot more than eBay. But if it is for unique household items that you really just can't find anymore that have long been discontinued, I think people think, I'm going to check eBay first just because that's kind of like what eBay is like it's got those old items that you really can't find anymore. They're very unique. And that's kind of where it gives you an advantage on that platform.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And as I'm thinking about this, and you're talking about going out to local stores to find some of the discontinued products, I start to think that, well, okay, if I go out and I do that, then after I go through the store once, they're going to be out of all these discontinued products, and now I won't be able to do that method again. Have you found that more discontinued items continue to show up at those same stores, or are you now having to go to a bunch of other stores, close to your location, so that way you can actually keep this method going?
Yeah, exactly. So it depends on what store it is. So if it's just like your local, again, a local hardware store, grocery store, pharmacy, yeah, when you go there, they're not going to restock pretty fast. But the beauty of discontinued products is products are always being discontinued. And they're, when you're up to date and you're starting to see that the different products are being discontinued, or you start to see something on eBay that's selling like, that's selling for a lot more than what I've noticed. That's something where I kind of keep a running list of items to, it's almost like my Bolo list, right? It's something where, hey, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. We'll see what happens. And maybe every month I can go hit that store again and see if there's a new item that's been discontinued. Um, that's been newly announced, or maybe it's just something that I missed that I didn't recognize before, and that's something that I can kind of keep an eye out for. But yeah, once you kind of hit that store, I kind of bounce around, hit up all the other stores, but then every month, every other month, I'm going to hit them again because you never know what else has been discontinued within that time. And then also checking out different sections, right? If it's something that's moving to clearance or they got different clearance tags, that's always something that's changing where even if it's not profitable now, it went on clearance. Okay, I can go ahead and put that to the side, maybe take a little picture of it and keep an eye out for it. Yeah, it might not be profitable now, but that's something that I can go back and study, and maybe next month it's profitable. And then I can go ahead and start sourcing that product. So it's not only sourcing product, but it's also giving me ideas on the other items I can keep an eye out for and I could source for in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. So, whenever you're doing some of your sourcing, are you typically just going to the store and just looking through every single product to find the lucky few that are discontinued? Or are you able to do some of that from home and then you go out and you're looking for those products in particular?
Both.
Okay.
Exactly that. So when I'm in store, there's obviously indicators that you want to look out for. Like I had mentioned previously, clearance, right? That's the first spot anyone thinks where a product is going to be leaving the store, it's going to go to clearance. That's really what I'm looking for. Now, there's little indicators that you can keep an eye out for, and that's something that I talk a lot in the Proven course where each store sometimes has their own ways of indicating a product has been discontinued. That's not as obvious as a big clearance sticker, right? So that's something that helps me kind of funnel the items I'm looking for rather than sitting in the aisle and scanning every single item because at that point it's almost impossible, right?
Mhm.
And then when I'm home, there are certain ways where I'm looking for discontinued products, right? There's like just news articles, right? There's Facebook groups. There's like fan pages, right? There are certain fan pages where like you could think for beauty products, right? People love hair care, skin care, and when something's gone, they go to these groups and they're like, "Hey, I can't find this anymore. What's a good substitute?" But for me, that's like, "Oh, that's something to keep an eye out for when I'm out in stores." Um, and then same thing for eBay, right? eBay is probably honestly one of the most powerful tools you have for sourcing because you can use listings to your advantage, right? People love like all the sellers that they are on there that are selling discontinued products. You can use those prices to your advantage. So if you find um again, like a detergent that's selling at $60, yeah, it's probably discontinued, and that's something you can keep an eye out for when you're out in stores.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I'm thinking, as you're looking for these products, you want to find as many as you possibly can, but in some cases it's going to be difficult. They may be, five in some random rural town in Missouri, and then there may be some in your own little area. I'm sure it's difficult to find them, but what's your process if you do find out about these products that are discontinued? What's that process look like to then go out and look for them? Is it you're just looking for that needle in a haystack, hoping that they're there? Or can you kind of zone in on the right places to go source for those?
Yeah, so it depends on, again, what type of product. So if it's something that I find here at home and I kind of get that idea, it's not just one item. Like using the different platforms, using those strategies, you can really create a massive list. To keep an eye out for. And when I'm at these stores, it's not just one specific item I'm looking for. It's that whole list of like, oh, I have that, you know, folder of items that I should keep an eye out for. So I know I'm not going to find them all, but if I have a very long list of items that I know I should be looking for, I'm probably going to find one or two. I just don't know which ones those are. Um, the other thing is when you're in store too, it doesn't hurt to take a few shelf pictures. That's a huge key, right? So you don't have to go back to that store every single time. You can reference that and be like, oh, I know they had that in stock at one point. I can go check that out. So that's kind of how I kind of balance kind of going to those stores. But then also if it's something that I know I want to keep an eye out for, that's something I'm going to track Amazon. Maybe Amazon's in stock, and then there's your buy and hold opportunity. Maybe they're not, but maybe somebody else comes back in stock on it. And that's something that you can also use to your advantage. So there's a bunch of different ways where you can track that product, but also kind of, keep an eye out for it in case it comes back, if there's a different seller, or if it's just looking at your local stores.
Okay. Yeah. And whenever you're talking about the local stores, have you ever gone to the managers and just been like, hey, do you have any products here that are super old? Just to see if they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, here's our list of stuff that hasn't sold in 5 years. Like, have you ever tried that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some are, like, hey, we don't really like, even some don't even really pay attention to it, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
But then there are others who were like, yes, please. I've had a manager who was like, do you want me to grab an employee for you? And they'll push around a cart for you, and you can just load it up as much as you can. And I was like, absolutely, so they're majority of the time more than willing to help out.
Mhm.
And especially for the stores who are aware that they can't restock some of that product, that has been huge as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I think about it's usually a case in this particular instance where managers want to get rid of these products. It's not like and I don't know if you do this, but there's the Dollar General, I think Dollar General penny items, the things that accidentally get pennied out and the store clerks are supposed to throw them away. Sometimes they forget about them and you can buy them for a penny. I'm
Hmm.
assuming in this case, most managers are happy to sell those to you, and it's not like, oh, we were supposed to get rid of these things because they were discontinued, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And not only for like your big time like outlets, things like that, but also just again like the local stores that you hit. They are more of they want to move inventory.
Mhm.
And the way I kind of think about it too is like think of a pharmacy, for example, like a local pharmacy. What are people there for? They're there for their prescriptions. They're not really there to shop. And when you're there and you're able to buy in bulk and pick up these things, they're excited because that means they're able to move that inventory and bring in new inventory that people are more familiar with or that they want to buy. It's a huge win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And even whenever before I did Amazon, I sold commercial insurance in like a rural area, and there were
Hmm.
these building material dealers or like lumber stores. There were just one store, and they would have all these other products that most people would come there for lumber, but they'd have a ton of products. I assume that would have been a gold mine had I most likely had I been sourcing for Amazon at the time, as I could go in there. They probably weren't selling a bunch of those little products, but maybe there's certain products that have been discontinued in that time. So. It's those types of small stores. How do you find those small stores? Sometimes, people are I'm in Orlando now. You don't really think about
Hmm.
the small stores. You see all the big ones. So what are your strategies for finding those small stores?
I just a simple Google search. All I'm looking for, I don't put anything specific, but I just put in like hardware store. And I love to go through and just kind of see what's around me, or if it's the location that I've traveled. And really what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for the major retailers, right? I don't want something that's brand new. I'm looking for something that looks old, something that looks like it's a mom and pop shop or it's local. And that's the beautiful like the Google Maps is where you can like pull it up, you can check out the pictures. Sometimes they even have the pictures of what it looks like in store, which is pretty cool. And you can like, oh, like that looks super old. I'm hitting that one. Um, and just kind of searching for those type of places. And even if you don't have anything around you, it's just something that is good to be aware of. So if you are traveling, right, you're taking a trip or you're going somewhere in the mountains, right? If you're going to the mountains, there's probably been a couple like those small local grocery stores that they have around these big open areas that even if you just have the awareness and like, hey, I'm just going to pop in and see what they have, you never know what you're gonna find. And I think that's the beauty of it too, is maybe, yeah, if you don't have it around you, then yeah, you probably can't source a lot of these mom and pop local stores. But even if you just have the awareness and you're out and about, maybe it's a work trip, right? Maybe you're out in a different state, but just knowing you can go out and check those areas when you're there, can be extremely helpful.
Yeah. And I would assume anywhere within a 15 to 20-minute drive will probably have something that's a local store, depending on where you live, obviously. If you're in a
Yeah.
major city, 15 to 20 minutes away from the city, you're going to find some small stores probably at some point. Now, I'm curious too, for anybody that does want to get started on these types of methods, how long would it take them to really become successful with some of it? Is this something where, someone could learn this and then a week later they made their first flip? Or is this something where, hey, this is going to take 6 months of learning what's discontinued and buying and holding, and then eventually you'll profit from it?
hmm I truly believe this is something where within a week you will be able to start moving and figuring it out.
Mm,
Um, the course is something that's it doesn't have a lot of fluff.
mhm,
It's you can get I get right to it. I'm not someone who loves to like add all these extra things just because I can. I love to get straight to the point and kind of go to exactly what I'm looking for and how I go about looking for those items and how I make these confirmations and how do I sell them and where do I go to sell them. So,
mhm,
yeah, this is something where once you get the concept and you know what to look for, it's something that you can add into your, how do I say this, selling repertoire as soon as you can.
mhm,
And it's something that also it's just a strategy to add to your overall, selling strategies, like your different sourcing strategies. It's something that helps your awareness, right? It doesn't change the way you source. Like the way you find leads is it's awesome. But taking that added step of understanding how discontinued products work, how it kind of works with, over time, finding these different items, it just adds to the strategy that you already know and the ways that you already do it and kind of helps the decision making and then also adds a little extra peace of mind, like I've talked, right? If you start to see something where, again, we talked, you see the stellar count come out and you're like, oh man, the price is tanking. But taking that extra step of, all right, I know this is discontinued. I know it's not sold anymore. I understand why it's been discontinued. You're not really worried. I'm not sweating that anymore because I know that seller count going up, it's going to come down because that it's no longer being manufactured.
mhm.
So it's kind of adding those extra strategies and that extra decision making to your overall sourcing methods that you have already.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a couple different ways people can go if they want to start doing this opportunity or just start doing this method. One is if you're just looking for kind of a little bit of a lower stress model of, hey, this is just a fun thing that I'm doing on the weekend. I make really good profits doing this. This is a great opportunity to do something just like that because you can take $10 and make $20, right? You can really find some good flips, and there's a pattern. There's a way to start, kind of making it more systematic and
Mhm.
through the course that you keep referencing. But then also, if you're somebody that wants to have that $100,000 a month business that's doing the typical arbitrage wholesale stuff on Amazon, add this into it and you can make some extra profits doing this. This is another almost different stream of income that you can start having in your business that helps on some of the bad buys you may have in your other side of your business, right? Which is more volume. So I think no matter what kind of seller somebody is, they can really start to use this in their business to make good profits. And so that's what I'm excited about with it. Now, you did mention the course. So if anybody's interested in checking that out, they can go to askjimmysmith.com/discontinued. I'll put the link below and in the description. But Zach, would you mind telling us a little bit about the course and kind of what steps you walk people through so that they can be successful with this model?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one question I always get is how do I know it's discontinued? How do you find discontinued products? And that's the whole purpose of this course is how I find these. What are the strategies that I'm using? And there's a couple different tools that I use, couple different unique strategies, right? Like I know a lot of people are familiar with Keepa, right? But there are other alternatives in different unique ways that you can go about and finding these discontinued items, right? Because the key is knowing how do I know a product is discontinued? And there, the strategies I go about are different. We use social media, we use forums, we use eBay. We use manufacturer websites. We use different sellers on different platforms. So there are just very different ways you can go about it, um, and different ways in store that you can go. So like I talked about too. So going into the store, it can be very overwhelming if you don't know what to look for. But there are stores that use indicators like we talked about that have certain ways of marking their products that are discontinued that you might be passing over. So that has been, I would say, my biggest and probably strongest strategy I have because a lot of the stores around me all have indicators, which is something that I can take back to me and use that for OA buys. So I can go in and I can hit these stores and I can buy them in store, but if I know and I can use those OA indicators or the indicators that are in store, I can use that for OA as well. So that's really the purpose of the course. Like I said, um, I get right to the point. We hit it hard, and it's once you know it, and you can start using it as soon as you get through the course.
Yeah, and it just sounds fun. I mean, to be honest, it just sounds like a fun way to selling on Amazon. If somebody just wants something that they can go out and find really profitable products just by following some of these things. So I'm excited about this course. I know that I've seen some successes come through it from some of the people that we both mutually know, and just
Hmm.
seeing on the online platform as well, people come through and have some deals that they've posted and shown from the successes from the course. So really excited about it. Zach, where can people find you? I know that you're on X.com or Twitter, formerly Twitter for anybody, but where can people find you if they want to follow you for more?
Yeah, that Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, it's at Zach Altmyer. That's the only social media platform I have. But then also on the Ecom on demand, I'm also under there as Zach Altmyer.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and Ecom on Demand is where the course is housed. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can go to askjimmysmith.com/discontinued. Zach, it's been great getting to hear about your story and kind of the way that you've built your Amazon business. I really appreciate it and looking forward to seeing how your business continues to grow. So thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a good one. Hey, thank you so much for checking out that interview with Zach Altmyer on how you can start adding in selling discontinued products into your Amazon or eBay business. Talking making over 100% return on investment from just utilizing some of the methods that he discussed today and that he discusses in the course. Now, that course itself, whenever you go to askjimmysmith.com/discontinued, it will take you to this page right here. You can see that there's a ton of information that you're going to be able to learn by going through this course. Zach mentions that he is kind of a no-nonsense teacher and that he gets straight to the point, and I really appreciate that about him. You can see different examples on here, all the different modules that are covered just to get you started with finding and selling those discontinued items and all the different tactics that he uses. And then there's some testimonials also that you can go through and read through. So that way you can get started with this discontinued training and adding it into your business. Highly recommend checking it out, whether you are an experienced seller looking to add some additional profits into your business, or if you're a new seller that's looking to just get started with something on the side where you can flip some products and make some good profits. Either way, can't go wrong. Now, if you have any questions, post them down below. I'll be sure to read and respond to as many as I possibly can. I hope this video helped you and blessed you, and you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.